Survivor Series? No, but 2 minutes. 2 minutes to a 50-year-old guy who has, and I'm not knocking Goldberg. I don't know Bill Goldberg. And I've said before that he was a huge draw in wrestling because they built up a monster the right way. We talked about that a week or two on the program, where they built up a monster the right way. And then once he got over better than the guys who knew to play the political game, like Hogan and the rest of them, they managed to cut his fucking balls off and cut him off the legs. So it ended his phenomenal drawing power. But until then, he was over because he looked the part and he could fucking go out there and smash people. And the fans love a dominant, badass winner. And that's why his run in the WWF or WWE flopped when he finally had it, because, he was out there wearing the blonde wig and the whole 9 yards, and they didn't, he wasn't their creation, so they didn't do it right. But after over 10 years, they get this guy to come back, and they put him against Brock Lesnar in a rematch of that stinker at WrestleMania, where the people turned on both of them. And I'm just wondering, I don't know. I can understand why it might be a 2-minute match, because maybe they thought we don't want to leave him out there till people see through it. Or maybe Goldberg was hurt more than he cared to let on when they said he was hurt doing a little angle on Raw. But to beat Brock Lesnar, who ended the streak, who they have built up as an unbeatable monster, who's the one guy, the biggest drawing card they have, because he's the one guy that people still believe is real in wrestling since everything else has been exposed. And he gets beat in 2 minutes by a guy that now is going to come back, I guess, for Royal Rumble. Well, thank you for coming back again, since you just beat the biggest name in the fucking business in 2 minutes, flat, clean, with no rebuttal. But are they thinking 2 months ahead to the Royal Rumble instead of 2 years ahead? Why wouldn't, and I'm going to second guess myself on this, why wouldn't one of their young talents, why wouldn't a guy that they've got for the next 10 years, if they want him, be the one to beat Brock Lesnar and get that rub and make a new superstar instead of a guy that was already a superstar that's going to wrestle maybe once more, maybe a handful of times more, but certainly not. I can't get my mind around the fact that they're thinking 2 months ahead and not 2 years ahead, unless it's because, unfortunately, in the wrestling business today, there are no grown adult men that look like they can whip somebody to where you could make a star by beating Brock. Could that be it? What do you think?
Well, they gave Roman Reigns that exact opportunity.
Well, there you go. Roman Reigns. He looks like he whipped somebody.
Well, they gave him a year. They built it up to him beating Brock. Of course, they did everything wrong and the people rejected him, but it didn't work. And I actually thought the way it was handled was great. I like the booking of this.
Really?
It's the only thing from Survivor Series I saw, and I watched it, and first of all, the place was going apeshit for Goldberg. Second of all, I actually don't think it would have worked as a match that went more than 2 minutes. Well, I just don't think it would have worked as a back and forth match. I think eventually it just, between the fact that he hasn't been an active wrestler in over a decade, and he's coming into this apparently injured, and the other fact that Brock for the last year, I'm a fan of Brock when Brock's doing things, but it's just suplex. I'm bored with it now. He would have hurt Goldberg after 2 of those. This way, Jim, it was actually really effective, and it makes me curious for one of those rare times lately to what they're going to do tonight and what they're going to do at the Royal Rumble, and if anything leads to WrestleMania. They face off in the middle of the ring. The announcers point out that Brock is not scared. Goldberg is not scared of Brock. Everyone's scared of Brock, but Goldberg's face to face with him and not scared. The match starts. Brock throws him into the corner, just overpowers him, stands up right in his face. Goldberg shoves him. Brock takes a bump. He goes down, and the fans react because that's a big deal. It's a big deal that Brock's on his back and he's looking at Goldberg. And then he starts smiling, like, almost that sadistic, I like it. Okay, cool. He gets up. As he gets up, Goldberg hits him with the first spear. The place is now going apeshit because no one expected that. No one expected a spear within 30 seconds. Brock's down. Brock's selling. Brock's doing a great job. He's holding his ribs. It looks like he's hurt. Michael Cole, who I think usually does such a shitty job, and the other two did a really shitty job. Michael Cole was doing great. Michael Cole was getting over exactly what was going on. Oh my God, Brock is hurt. Heyman's on the outside flipping out. I'm sick of Heyman though. He's done in my eyes. Brock finally gets up. Goldberg hits him with a second spear. Now the place doesn't know what to think. Because, surely they're not going to the finish right now. There's no way.
They were, and don't call me Shirley.
And Goldberg picks him up for the jackhammer, hits it, pins him, and then as the place is popping and going crazy, they do those shots of individual fans in the crowd holding their faces, looking at the sky. They don't know how to react, but everyone's reacting positively because it was unexpected. They got something that was unexpected and didn't leave them feeling insulted. And that's a rarity when it comes to the World Wrestling, I was about to say World Wrestling Federation, to the WWE.
Yeah. Well, since you just promoted it that way, actually, I like what happened. I don't know whether I can get my head around who it happened with, because if Goldberg was 35 and going to be around, that would have been perfect. But I just don't know what the future of this bit. Well, we got Donald Trump is going to be the president in January. I guess I shouldn't really be worried about a future, because probably none of the world will have one. But for the future of the business, it's like, I remember one time several years ago, they had The Rock and Austin come back and do something, in the ring with The Miz. And Bolin called me up and he said, "Did you see that?" I said, "No, of course I didn't see it," because he still watches some of this shit. But so he said, you gotta watch. I was over to his house. He said, "Let me show you this." And my response was, who is this small grade school child in the ring with these two wrestling stars? Every time they bring legends back, it shows, it slaps you in the face with the fact that these guys were over. They knew what to do. They looked like men. And people react to it, and the newer guys, whether it be because most all the tough guys want to get into the UFC, or whether it's the bad booking because it's comedy writers now instead of wrestling people trying to get guys over, or whether it's that all the new talent has to walk on eggshells because they're afraid of doing anything or saying anything to make somebody mad, like when Bryan Danielson choked the guy with the fucking tie in the angle and they fired him for a year. Whatever. The modern talent cannot, or is not allowed to, or does not look like they can get over like the legends, the old guys. And unfortunately, the old guys have a shelf life now, and it ain't very long. And the guys with the futures are still being cannon fodder for them. And I just, I wish it Goldberg, if they'd have done that and Goldberg was 35 and just signed a 3-year contract, I'd say, my God, we got the next big box office attraction in wrestling. I don't know what legs or shelf life something like that is going to have to do. It may have been good for the Royal Rumble business, but was it good for the business?
Well, a few things. First is, we do know that Goldberg signed on for a few more dates at least, and we'll see where this goes. They have to be nothing but pleased with the reaction he's gotten from the moment he came back. His promos have hit home. They've worked with the audience, and they've treated him the way WCW treated him, and I mean that in a good way. They haven't treated him like the WWE Goldberg. They've treated him like an attraction, like the Goldberg from WCW. I think it's important to note that Brock, too, is a part-timer. It's not like Brock's there every week. It's not like Brock's part of the main programs. Brock comes in and out, and Brock can be rehabilitated pretty quickly. And the other thing I would say is that, I think what they did with Sting left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, because for so many years was, what if Sting gets in there? What if Sting gets in there? And he had that match at Mania, which was just turned into a joke. And then Hunter beat him, and they made it, the WWE has conquered WCW finally after all these years after we purchased WCW. I mean, it made no fucking sense. And then Sting came back the second time and he lost again. I mean, Goldberg is a legend. To the average fan, Goldberg is a true wrestling legend, even though he had a short run, and even though he wasn't, Ric Flair in the ring, he's a legend. And they brought him back, and if anything, he means more now than he did yesterday. So who knows what they will do with him? Who knows what they can do with him? But there's room to do something with him. He is a 50-year-old guy. He's not going to be able to work a full-time schedule. He's not going to go on the road. He's not going to do any of that shit. But put him in the right match at WrestleMania. If they do, if they build up to it right, it means something. If they don't just give Brock back his win at the Royal Rumble, it could mean something. If they do something interesting with the Brock match, it can mean something. But now, in terms of storyline, he's 2-0 over Brock. He beat him at that WrestleMania abortion of a match they had in 2005. I think 2005, maybe 2004. And now
I think it was 4. Yeah.
Okay, 2004. And now he beat him again. And this is coming off Brock returning to the UFC and winning there. Him destroying Randy Orton. Him just, for the last couple of years, just destroying guys one after another. He didn't get one suplex off on Goldberg. There's a story there to be told. The argument that Goldberg may not be the right guy, I don't know if there's anyone in that company right now who you could say I'd put in there with Brock and I'd book it the same way or similarly, I should say, that it would be effective. I can't think, you put AJ Styles in there or you put, Roman Reigns, hell no. But if you put any of these guys that are top guys in the company now in there to do something like that, it wouldn't have worked. I don't think anyone was going to be elevated working against Brock and beating him like really quickly like that.
Well, maybe there's the story then. Maybe there's the story that the shame of it all is this was the right thing to do, but the shame of it all is that the only right guy to do it with was a 50-year-old guy who hadn't wrestled in 12 years and is only going to make a handful of appearances. Maybe that's the story, is they've done such a horrible job of finding, recruiting, training, and pushing young full-time talent that it's come to this. A lot of it is because the comedy writers don't know how to do these things, get guys over. And I think probably sometimes some of the writers are probably scared to ask the guy to do a job. They're like, he'll beat me up if I want him to lose or what. It's so, but okay. You know what? You have actually changed my mind. They did do the right thing with Goldberg and Lesnar. But when and like, as you mentioned, Lesnar also is a part-time guy, even though he's 15 years younger and he can be around longer. They did do the right thing with Lesnar and Goldberg. I will admit that now, and it did create the proper response. And then it's just a shame and an indictment on the entire system that the only right guy was 50 years old and they have to pay him millions of dollars to come back and show up a time or two.